For this video, I'm going to start to run through some of the taming the tiger applications. These are relatively traditional, so we'll cover them in more of a kind of combative sense later, but this is just so you can understand exactly what you're doing with each of these movements. We're going to pick up some of these applications from the opening bow sequence. The first one is going to be your double chops forwards, opening up, double punch up through the center, and then rolling the elbows outwards. These are all relatively simple to understand. They're all about using your mechanical advantage against your opponent. So the first one is going to be your strike forwards. This can be, obviously, when you're setting these up, this can be from a straight punch. The reason why we use the wrist is so we can start to develop strength in the wrist and also starting to work with different angles rather than just your straightforward punch. So the first jom style as we strike in is going to go to stomach 12 or the collarbone if you want a physical reference. We can also work to stomach 9, which is on the side of the neck, so carotid sinus. If we're using this against a punch, we're going to strike into large intestine 7, which is going to be on the top of the arm. So it's about halfway up the forearm and you're going to strike in over the top. So you're going to control the bridge from above. As we pull back, this is going to be a movement. Again, we're not going to use these together because if you use them both together from a grab, then if you open up on both sides, then the first thing your opponent does is bring their head forwards and you'll probably get head-butted straight in the face. On the single arm, when you grab on, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to strike backwards. Obviously, when you're grabbed by your opponent, they're going to be bracing into their own stance, so it has to be quite a forceful backwards movement. This movement here simply extends the arm and makes that grip a little bit weaker. For the follow-up movement, we're going to bring our arms back towards the center line and we're going to punch up. Now that punch up is going to release the grab if the first bit didn't. The reason why we use fists is so it gives the intent that we do it with force. Okay, if you just slowly squeeze up and your opponent's a lot stronger than you, this still won't break it. So you have to treat it like a strike and you're going to just smash that punch straight up through the center, and that's going to articulate the wrist in such a way that it makes it nearly impossible to hold on. There are striking elements, but obviously an uppercut is an uppercut. You don't have to think too much to understand that bit. So the last bit is going to be the elbow roll outwards. So if you're in a position where your opponent is far stronger than you are, then you have to manipulate the mechanical advantage. Bring your head closer towards your hand, and then all we're going to do is lift and roll the elbow out. When you're working this with a partner, make sure that they don't lock their thumb in because it's very difficult to hold on and therefore you could end up injuring your opponent's thumb. So obviously great for self-defense stuff, but not great if you've got a training partner. So again, just 3 concepts to look at when breaking a grab. So as we perform these 2 blocks, they serve different purposes. Initially, these are going to be used separately, so you don't have to use these together, though they do help support each other. So the first one is going to be on the high line. So as the punch comes in, that movement just strikes to the outside of the arm and it moves backwards, so it deflects the punch past your face. The second one, whether you're doing a big rounded movement or a drilling movement where you strike in, the force is exactly the same. Your basic defense is that round parry, so you're blocking the arm to the outside. If you drill in, you'll find that you'll pick up and block the punch, but it also doubles up as a strike to the abdomen. On this low line, if we're going to be using this movement as a strike, then we want to go for spleen 15. Obviously, striking anywhere in there with force is going to do damage, but if you're thinking about some more detailed striking precision, you want to be looking for the Dimac points. So spleen 15 is a good one, liver 14 slightly higher. When we use them together, obviously this is a technical thing, this is not really going to happen, but we're going to get the first punch that comes in over the top. So we're going to pick that up with the high hand. Now, keeping this one here, you just extend the low one out. To understand the movement, as we switch, we're going to pass the arm across and bring it up on the outside, and that basically ties up your opponent, puts both of the arms on the outside ready for you to reattack high or low. Again, you're not going to get a double punch attack, but if you get like a jab cross, then you can check high, swing low, and then do the switch. So if we run through that slowly, we get the first one high, check, low, in here, and then we fold it out, and this is your attacking line. You can go high or low from there. For this very classical tiger movement, it has quite a few hidden bits within it, so it's always good to have a look at. So first of all, we're going to work from a punch. So if we have the arm out, the first one is simply folding across the punch, and then we claw back towards the face. So again, a very simple application to understand. We're simply checking and counter striking over the top. You can also use this to break a grab as well. So if I get grabbed to the top of the arm, if I do the same movement, I'm going to bring the hand over, and that manipulates your partner this way, and then again you can strike over the top. The range is slightly off, so you're going to have to manipulate it a little bit, let the upper arm collapse. But in this position, your partner's either going to have to let go, or they're kind of in for the ride. So as soon as you're into that position, if they haven't let go early, it means that you can follow up with another strike. Now you have another option as well, and this is going to be from more of a grappling range. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to fold over onto lung 5, which is on the outside of the elbow, all the way through the crease. We've got pericardium 3 as well. So as that arm comes in, you notice how it brings the head forwards. We can extend that arm out and strike towards the throat, or we can bring the arm down and strike towards the abdomen. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to continue to circle the arm through. That's going to hook behind the back of the shoulder, and again we can strike from that position. You've got lots of ways that you can use this, so try to explore a few more as well. I'm sure you'll find a ton. The important thing when it comes to applications is that you take the traditional and then you experiment with 100 others to see if they work or don't. Anything that works, you keep. Anything that doesn't, you just throw away. In the form, we have a lot of these sideways moving tiger claws, and again, there's lots of information hidden within here. It doesn't really make a lot of sense in its traditional format, but once you break it down, obviously it begins to open up a few doors for you. So the first one is going to be a regular catch. So as we draw back, we catch to the side this way. So this is quite simple. Again, if we get a big rounded punch, we're literally just bringing the hand up to block. So you can strike backwards, so you can strike into the crease of the elbow, again taking pericardium 3, lung 5 on the top, and then just kind of covering yourself with the backhand. Now as we move back, you're not going to move back with both hands, but you can move back with either. So the first one is going to strike around and hook to the corner of the jaw. So we're aiming for small intestine 17. You can also strike with the backhand. Again, this is very similar to a previous application we looked at. You can literally fold down, again taking lung 5 again, so striking down, and that's going to be the strike that goes up towards the back of the jaw. So stomach 6, stomach 5, or anywhere on the side of the head. So when you're looking at these movements, think more about striking lines rather than trying to use both hands together to do the same job. Okay, so for the next one, we have the rolling forearms at 1 up, 1 down. Now you'll see this in a ton of martial arts. Pretty much every martial art I can think of uses it. And they all have different applications. None of them are wrong. They just all have their different take on it. Now, with the rolling forearms, this is a very difficult thing to use, and you'll find very few cases where it's actually going to be applicable, but it's still best to practice it. It gives you a little bit more skill. Now, what we're going to have a look at is a punch, and it's going to go into a neck break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Shu to just stick the punch forwards. Okay, you can deal with the punch how you like, so you can pass it over to the side. Now the application comes in where you're going to strike with the backhand towards the top of the head, and that's going to turn the face around. Now what happens is you're going to pull backwards, and then you pull down with the top hand and roll up with the bottom hand. Now, the thing is, when you strike into the back of the neck, you've got some very dangerous points. You have gallbladder 20, slightly closer in, you've got bladder 10, but you have the brainstem and access to the top of the spine. So when you've turned your partner around, if you do it violently like this, obviously there's much better things that you can do in that position. If you're already in this position, then just extending through or exploding through that movement is going to give you a really, really kind of effective self-defense technique. So as you roll the forearms one up, one down, obviously it doesn't matter which side you go, you need to practice both. But from this position, think about holding the front of the head and then striking into the back of the neck. So for the next one, we have the catch and we have the elbow. Now, this is a very simple arm breaking technique that you have. And again, most of the applications from the first form are very simple, though you can train them and they are very effective. So what we're going to look at is simply just a catch to the outside and an elbow up through triple heater 11. Now, the grab just catches to the outside, slide down to the edge of the wrist. Now, all we're going to do is where you locate the elbow, we're going to strike slightly up from that. That's going to strike through the arm bar and basically snap the elbow backwards. We're not looking to land directly on the elbow joint, so we're going to go slightly higher using basic physics. If you position the fulcrum slightly above the joint, that means that as you pull back an elbow up, you're going to get maximum effect through that arm bar. Okay, so the last one we're going to look at is going to be crane opens wings, and you'll see this application done in tons of different styles, in lots of different forms as well. So this is basically a pull and a strike outwards. We can do it from the inside or the outside, makes no real difference. Learning the actual positioning of it is where the real skill comes in. So if we're going to go nice and simple from the inside, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the hand over and we're going to slide the ring finger and the thumb down to heart 7 and lung 9. Now, as you strike up, the arm chops to the outside of the neck. So again, depending on your target, depends what you're going to use. If you're going to strike into soft tissue into the neck, then you're going to get a much better contact if you use the ulnar bone on the outside of the forearm, because you're going to go bone straight to flesh. Now, if you're going to strike into the skull, it's going to be slightly different. So if you're taking any of the points on the side of the head, you want to be using the base of your palm. So as you strike in, this is where you start to do all your conditioning, but that's going to allow you a little bit of leeway for when you're actually striking into bone, because obviously if you strike your ulnar into the skull, there's a good chance you're going to crack that as well as do damage to your opponent. So we're trying to minimize the amount of injury we get ourselves. So again, as I said, strike to the neck using the forearm, strike to the head using the palm.